I love the Five Nights at Freddy's series, and I especially love trying out the myriad of different Five Nights at Freddy's fan games. There are hundreds, possibly thousands out there on GameJolt, and I've played so many of them over the past few years. Some were absolutely fantastic, like Playtime with Percy, and others were... oh god.
Dormitibus is a disgusting, vile game made by an alleged pedophile.
Now, in this sea of fan games, it's guaranteed that although some of them may reach the very top of the GameJolt homepage and be adored by hundreds of thousands with games like Oblitas Casa, Return to Bloody Nights, and so many more, but then on the other side of the coin, there will always be some exceptional fan games that will fall through the cracks. And these are what I wish to cover today. I've gone through and selected amazing FNAF fan games, which I believe are quite underrated for just how good they are. But before we get into the games, I'd like to ask you to subscribe if you're new. I know you've heard it 1,000 times from other YouTubers, but it does genuinely support me. And without further ado, let me introduce you to the most underrated Five Nights at Freddy's fan games on the internet. The first game I wanted to mention in this video is actually something I've mentioned before on this channel. It's got a very unique premise, ties into my favourite FNAF game in the entire series, and even a pretty sweet art style to boot. That's right, welcome back to Engraved Establishment, a FNAF fan game which, whilst borrowing the tycoon aspects of Pizzeria Simulator, also throws in a tower defense style, similar in vein to Bloons TD or even Plants vs Zombies. However, I would argue that the items are more based on Plants vs Zombies, and the actual layout is more based on Bloons. Now let's get straight into the gameplay. So how does that play out? Well, the day sections are heavily reminiscent of the tycoon mode from Pizzeria Simulator, except they are both much more fleshed out here with a greater selection of both items and animatronics. Due to the game being a demo, this doesn't really affect anything as of now, but recent teasers on GameJolt have displayed the brand new Faz rating system, which is something directly taken from Pizzeria Simulator, and the dev has shown that they want to expand even more on this.
And I know this for a fact, as shortly before recording this video, I reached out to Lucky himself, aka the developer behind Engraved Establishment, and managed to secure an interview, where he gave me an assortment of behind the scenes looks into the game, as well as a bunch of early access into new features never seen on the internet before. And in the next section of this video, I've included a snippet of that interview, so enjoy!
What's your favourite mechanic that you've made for the game?
It's gotta be the mini games that I've added, because it was a really daunting task for me to do, because I knew that I wanted to put it into the game. Problem was how was I gonna do that with the way that the game works right now, object mode and tile mode and view mode. But I think it works as it is right now. I think it's really good with how it works.
Are you planning on implementing all of the stuff from Pizzeria Simulator and then a few extra mini games, or is it just the ones from Pizzeria Simulator?
I want to do the ones that are from Pizza Simulator first, and then create new ones around objects I've made already.
Because I was thinking when I was playing through it, and I've been looking at the GameJolt page and stuff, and I've seen some of the teasers that you've put of the duck mini games specifically. I love that duck mini game. It's my bread and butter. But I think it'd be really interesting to see some of the arcades turned into mini games, because we don't really see those in FNAF games or fan games.
I was thinking that during development that it would be absolutely fun to do the arcade machine ones.
I also think your art style would transfer really well into the FNAF sort of arcade game style. You know what I'm talking about, the FNAF 2, FNAF 1 mini games. I think it would translate quite well. Do you plan to add the animatronics from all of the other games in the series, or is it planned to just stay at the selection we've got now?
Yes, it is gonna have all the animatronics from the other series of games. I am gonna be looking at other media of FNAF, the books and stuff like that, but it probably wouldn't be specifically for the Tycoon. It would be for the tower defense.
Now, before we get back to your regularly scheduled broadcast, I'd like to point out that Lucky has officially announced that Demo 2, or at least part of it, will be releasing on July 15th, 2025, which is just a few weeks after this video drops, so make sure to go and check it out on the page down in the description below.
Then in the night sections, you'll play as a cute little security guard and have to use the power to place different bits of equipment to protect yourself. Now, I personally like the way that they've implemented the power system into this game. It's a very unique way of using it in a FNAF fan game. Now, as you move through the nights, you'll unlock new pieces of equipment to place down, each with their own unique properties and amount of power needed for them that actually add quite a bit more excitement to the night sections as a whole, as if there was only one piece of equipment so far, then it'd be a little bit boring. Now, the third major point I wanted to bring up about Engraved Establishment is the music and general game design. It's genuinely so pleasing to look at. The little designs for like Helpy and the security guard are incredibly charming in my opinion, as well as the music in this game being incredibly relaxing too. Now, Engraved Establishment is only a demo as of right now, but it is 100% worth your time, especially if you're looking for a smaller game to just pick up and have fun with. There's even a sandbox mode which gives you an infinite number of every item in the game if you just want to go hog wild and build a massive pizzeria. Also, I have previously made a full video on the Engraved Establishment demo where I went fully in depth on everything you need to know about the game so far, so you should definitely go and check that one out after this video if you're interested in more Engraved Establishment stuff, and I'll definitely be making another one in the future when the full game releases. Now it's time for me to tell you about... As a huge fan of FNAF World, being one of my favourite games in the entire series, as well as being a major fan of Sonic since I was a kid, FNAF World Outplay was certainly right up my alley and was seemingly made to be one of my favourite FNAF fan games. If you couldn't tell already, it takes the concept of classic Sonic games and smashes it together with Five Nights at Freddy's. The character designs, gameplay style and even the music is beautiful, and literally feels like an official Sonic game. Now I wouldn't blame you for not knowing about this game as it's still in the very early demo phases, however it was a part of the Fangame Direct. But let me take you a little deeper under the hood into FNAF World Outplay. You get the choice to play between each of the 4 main members of the Five Nights at Freddy's cast, being Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, with each of them having their own standalone mechanics. Both Freddy and Bonnie are melee users, with Freddy straight throwing hands and Bonnie swinging that guitar. Freddy can also dash backwards whilst Bonnie can simply jump higher. Then for our long range users we have Chica and Foxy. In my opinion though, Chica is the strongest of the group, being the fastest and able to throw little bombs and stuff. Then Foxy on the other hand is my favourite to play as, but that may also be because he's my favourite character. But nevertheless, he is a straight menace in this game, wielding just straight up a gun as well as being the second fastest character in game. He perfectly suits my playing style. Now in terms of enemies in this game, they're all pretty bog standard, just being regular Sonic enemies but with the appearance of FNAF World enemies on the outside. Even the area is named Fazbear Hills, resembling a location of FNAF World already, but the overall design of the level here is heavily reminiscent to Green Hill from the Sonic games. Now I do like that this game is tied into FNAF World, it then makes more sense that things are just pretty wacky and wild, and I guess my favoritism towards FNAF World may be boosting my opinions here, but what the hell. Also, the final boss here is an incredibly awesome looking version of Auto Chipper, and as to be expected, he's not too difficult to beat here. Now it can be assumed that when the full game releases later this year, as said on the Game Jolt page, however this is subject to change as any time as goes with FNAF fan games, that the other levels may retain 2 different worlds in FNAF World. And overall, if you're a fan of both FNAF and Sonic, I think you'd really enjoy the demo of FNAF Outplay. And even if you're not, then you should play it anyways. The devs put in exceptional work and it definitely shows here. Now it's once again time to hand over the spotlight to... Now, a recurring theme you may be noticing throughout this video is that each of these fan games have an incredibly unique art style, as well as putting a very unique spin on the traditional Five Nights at Freddy's formula, and our second to last game, Fazbear Armageddon, is no exception to that ruling. Now, let me set the scene. 2 years ago, a developer by the name of Wheat, with 3 T's, released Fazbear Armageddon as an entry for the Reddit Game Jam in 2022, and instead of following the basic Five Nights formula for its gameplay, this fan game is actually a first-person shooter in the style of some of the older Doom games. Now the game isn't finished as of yet, with only 4 levels currently being available for you to play, but recently the developer actually made their return to Game Jolt to announce that more progress was coming, just not very soon. Enough dilly-dallying though, let's discuss the gameplay of Fazbear Armageddon. Starting off, there are 4 different levels and 5 different difficulties, ranging from painless to nightmare, with each successive difficulty just lowering the HP that you get to start. As far as I know, there are no other changes to gameplay between difficulties. Now moving into the 4 levels, we have Rise and Shine, which acts as a sort of tutorial level, even featuring Golden Freddy as the ending boss for this level. Then we have Desecrated Halls, which is relatively unremarkable, so we'll jump straight into the 11th Hour, which is another relatively normal level and has Red Bear's head as the final boss. Lastly, we have level 4, Solace, which is the most unique of the 4. There are no other enemies until you reach this massive ball pit area where Mangle will come out as a boss for you to fight. They are relatively difficult, but not too challenging that it would be impossibly difficult to complete, and this is all without mentioning the unique art style of this game, which I really love. It gives me heavily nostalgic vibes, as I used to play so many games with this art style when I was younger, and in recent years I've even found myself going out and collecting a few older consoles to try out some of these games for myself. I'm very excited to keep watching everything that's coming in the future for Fazbear Armageddon, and I've even started work on a video with another YouTuber, Exploding Loaf, on the demo. Now it's time to jump into the final game of this video. Do you like games like Ultimate Custom Night or its drugged up cousin Ultra Custom Night? Then you would absolutely love Too Many Nights, which as the Game Jolt page describes does not follow the general 5-night structure as seen in most of these fan games. Instead it's more of an endless endurance test where after each night you'll get to pick out different animatronics from a selection of 47 different characters. Alternatively, you'll also be able to pick different penalties, which there are way too many for me to count up. These are extra additions to the night that serve to spice up the gameplay in some way. It's also next to impossible to get the same selections of animatronics and penalties considering they're completely random and there's a hell of a lot of each of them. Also, there are a few items that you can purchase between nights similar to UCN in a way. Now, there's 12 different characters ranging from Michael to the dead kids, and then Scott Cawthon himself, each of which having not only a different number of lives, but also different abilities and other additions to the nights. Some of them even change what decisions you get to make each night. But the unique gameplay style isn't the main reason that I picked this fan game out of the many for this video. I found Too Many Nights whilst having a little scroll on Game Jolt a few days ago, and immediately upon seeing how beautiful this game looks, I knew I wanted it to be in this video. I simply never seen any FNAF fan game or game in general with this nice kind of art style. I don't even know how to describe it really, and it's clear that with the number of different playable characters and how much they affect the gameplay that the devs really cared a whole lot for this game. And overall, Too Many Nights is an amazing fan game, and the ability to really play it your own way really adds to that. You can directly choose who you want to play as, and that directly changes how the game plays out. Then you can even choose what enemies you want to encounter, as well as the various penalties that drastically affect the gameplay, as well as adding in items to the mix which spices up everything even more. All of which is not even commenting on the incredibly unique art style here, which I've already said I absolutely love. It's so simple but still presents so much character in my opinion. But I think you should definitely take a crack at playing through Too Many Nights for yourself. And in the future I'd love to do a full video where we go completely in depth, talking about the different characters, penalties, animatronics and more. So if you want to see that, then subscribe! Also, the creator of Too Many Nights, It Dear, released Girls Night just a few months prior, which is also another unique looking fan game, although not in the same art style as Too Many Nights. It also uses a very similar gameplay loop to Too Many Nights, except there are less characters, the nights aren't endless and are even a lot longer too, with the nights in Girls Night being around 3 minutes and 47 seconds, with the nights in Too Many Nights being only 1 minute and 30 seconds. Now, I'm not going to cover this one in too much depth, but if you do end up enjoying Too Many Nights and want another similar game with even harder challenges in my opinion, then go check out Girls Night. Now, there are definitely so many more FNAF fan games out there that I've probably missed in this video, but I genuinely think that I've picked out 4 absolute gems in the sea, and if this video made you interested in any of the games I showed off today, then they will all be linked down in the description below, whether it be their Game Jolt page or their itch.io page. Also, a massive thank you to Lucky, aka the developer behind Engraved Establishment. I reached out to them when I started working on this video to get some behind the scenes stuff to add into the video, and as well as giving me that, they agreed to a short interview which I included snippets of in this video. But I left out quite a lot in this video, so I've decided that in the very next video, I will cover all of the behind the scenes stuff that Lucky provided to me, as well as the full interview with them. Now, if this video does well, and enough people say they'd want me to go and find a couple more FNAF fan games, then maybe I'll make a part 2. I do have some games on my mind that I'd love to cover in this sort of format. In addition, I'll also be keeping a close eye on each of the games featured in this video, especially Engraved Establishment. Now, if you have a few FNAF fan games that you'd love to see me cover in just general or in this format, then make sure to subscribe and leave them down in the comments below, as this video did take a little bit longer than most, so subscribing would definitely mean a lot and help me out. Now, before I let you go, I'd like to actually join the Discord. We want to build a little community there to just talk and share cool horror stuff, so if you're interested, come in and start a conversation. But hopefully I'll see you in the next video, whatever that might be, so laters.